You got 15 minutes of ads with intros and outros. You probably got like 35 minutes to really get into 10 new big points that his insider gave him. One of the insiders died a few years ago when we're able to release his name, obviously, and he was head of operations at Atlantic Richfield, a high-level position at the highest councils of the New World Order, not at the highest level of the New World Order, but in and around those councils. The other guy's even bigger, a former CEO of a big three oil company. Pastor Williams, more than 30 years ago, just to reintroduce, most of you know this, was able to be around all these people for 3 years on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. They used him as kind of the liaison out to the different crews, a bunch of oil companies together. That's how they work, carving up different things, getting disputes settled, and they used him as kind of a liaison. That's actually pretty common to pick some upstanding pastor, preacher, local that everybody seems to like to work with the oil companies. And he learned about how energy was controlled. Now, this is more and more admitted today, and a lot of what his Energy Non-Crisis book first broke in the early 80s has now been declassified and been admitted. And so much. He told us about the Arab Spring. He said there'll be uprisings in Bedlam a year and a half before it even started. That I give him. He said gas prices one year would go up to $150 a barrel. Everybody laughed at him. They were like 60. It happened. Then he said, well, get ready. They're going to go down to 40. It happened. Went down to 38. So almost everything his elite sources have told him has come true. You can say, well, this didn't exactly happen, but then Lindsey would say, well, that's how you interpret what they say. But even if you're talking to the highest level person in the Bilderberg group, everything they say they want to do, they're not God. They want to be. They think they are. They're not going to get it all done. Things change. Programs change. There's splits in the elite because they're getting down to the end game now where you got global government being set up, mega banks and 1.5 quadrillion they're trying to get people to sign on to. We have this article as we go to Lindsey Williams. The head of the Bank of England, one of the most powerful private central banks in the world, owns part of our Federal Reserve, said this is like a new world war. And basically, there's no way to get out of the collapse. And now the Bank of England is being taken over by another globalist from Canada. And now that's back in the news today in the London Guardian saying a dictatorial power is being given to them. That's happening in Greece, Spain. They tried it in Iceland. They defeated it. The only place to do it. They've done it in third world countries everywhere. They've done it to Ireland. They've done it here. They brag. Banksters declare they've conquered America. But today, if you just type into the search engine, I had it pulled up in there on the screen. If you just type in Bank of England head, the first article is the London Guardian with the outgoing head saying this is dictatorial, this is a takeover. There's also Infowars.com with our article where they all admit it. Bankers declare U.S. and Europe conquered. So that's how they get the power, as they control the fiat made-up derivatives, just like Bernie Madoff. But instead of him being low-level 100 billion con artists, these are trillion con artists, so big, and everybody's invested in it that they can't be brought down or they'll bring us down. Well, they have to go down because they're bringing us down to consolidate control. Now, I'm not going to talk for the next 40 minutes. I'm going to turn to Lindsey Williams. I'm going to give him the floor. And about 20 minutes into it, I'll stop and tell you about a new film, new breakdown he's done of this. But he's going to have the floor right now. Pastor Lindsey Williams joining us via the telephone. Thank you for coming on Infowars Nightly News. This is commercial free. You've got another interview coming up in about 50 minutes. So I'm going to give you the floor right now for most of that. Lindsey, break down the 10 points. Go for it all. And thank you for joining us.
After the election, I contacted my elite friend. I knew that he would know some things that I didn't know. People were bumfuzzled. They were flabbergasted. They didn't know what to do. They were in disarray. And I asked him the question, what can we expect in the next 4 years? The information he gave me was so startling that the only way I know to describe it is the most startling thing that anyone has heard since the founding of the United States of America. Yes, you heard me correctly. I know that's a big statement, but I was given 10 agendas that the American people will face over the next 4 years. I was so startled that I didn't do a radio show for nearly 3 weeks. And I finally said, okay, it's time to tell the American people the facts. And I'd like to give you those 10 agendas at this point. Some of them are encouraging, some of them are startling. Here we go. I hope that you'll write them down. You'll watch them happen. First of all, I'd like to make a prediction based on what my elite friend told me that you will find very interesting. The elite are not ready for a financial collapse yet. I hope you caught that. I know nearly all the newsletters, nearly everyone out there in the financial field is saying, oh, it's going to be a collapse. After fiscal collapse, going to be a collapse. No. The elite do not want a financial collapse yet. Why not? There's a very definite reason why not, and that brings me to the second part of this agenda, and this word is very powerful. They want to force debt creation. I hope you caught the word forced. They're going to force debt creation to the point that every nation in the world, every state in America, every city, every county, every individual homeowner and head of a household, they want them into such massive debt, and they intend to create it by certain methods, which I'll attempt to describe if I can. Now, many of you remember years ago, 30, 40 years ago, the first credit card that was ever out there was American Express. And at the time, I was a pastor in Florida. It was back in the 60s, and I went and got one. MasterCard, Visa, none of these were around. Well, not too many months ago, you heard what happened. All the banks were bailed out, and they came around to American Express, and they said, well, you're too big to fail also. And they said, you've got to become a bank. You cannot be a credit card any longer. And they forced America. Did you catch that word? They forced Bank of America, American Express, they forced them to become a bank. They did the same thing with the banks. You remember that it was QE1, and just prior to that, they had said the entire world is going to collapse. They threatened Congress and said there'll be riots. There's going to be a collapse. You must pass this bill. And Congress passed it, and QE1 came into being, and they bailed out the banks that they wanted to succeed and left the others to fail. It was a forced debt creation. Now, they're doing the same thing with students, college students. Yes, they have convinced you that you no longer can go to college without a government loan. This is a part of the agenda. One of the agendas of the elite for the next 4 years is to get every single college student they can into so much debt that when they graduate from college and can't find a job doing anything but flipping burgers or working in some fast food restaurant or maybe working for Walmart or Target, you will be so in debt that you will gladly listen to them whenever they say, we have a new world order for you. We have a new currency for you. Just give up your Constitution and everything will be fine. Do you understand why they don't want a collapse yet? Because they want to force such debt creation on everyone. Now, right now you're hearing fiscal cliff. Oh, my goodness, it's everywhere. This is a part of debt creation. Are you catching this? They are going to use the fiscal cliff in order to do certain things to the middle class. And that brings me to the third agenda that my elite friend informed me about. If you're a part of the middle class, what you're hearing, tax the rich, tax the rich. Listen, that is such a smokescreen, it's almost unbelievable. Never mind taxing the rich. The rich can protect their funds, whether it be in Liechtenstein or in the Caymans or someplace else. What are they going to do to the middle class of Americans who work 9 to 5, get a paycheck, and everything's turned in on them, and there's no way they can get around it, nothing they can do about it? I have a prediction for you. Based on what I have been told from my elite friend, the middle class, and watch it, you'll see it happen, the middle class is going to be taxed into oblivion. No, I know you're not hearing anything about this. You're going to watch it happen. It'll happen now, after this fiscal cliff, and then gradually over the next 4 years, you are going to see every type of tax imaginable. I'm going to mention a few